We are all welcome today. My name is Harry Madusha, and this is Career Aid Up. And you are welcome to our webinar today. We usually have our webinars on Wednesdays, but for some unavoidable reasons, we had to do it today. So please bear with us. I know it's a different time from what we are used to, but please bear with us. For those this is your first time in joining us, I want to say welcome. Just sit down, relax, and it's time to learn. It's not going to be too heavy, but it's time to learn and grow your career. For those that have always been with us, I want to appreciate you. Thank you for always coming every time we call. And I can assure you today is not going to be a waste of time. It's going to be an opportunity for you to grow in your knowledge. So for a little housekeeping, where am I? Just bear with me. My PowerPoint is messing up. Yeah, so for some housekeeping, this webinar is going to run for, yes, and I think that's another segue to the housekeeping. Please mute yourself as much as you can, just so that we don't distract ourselves, if you don't mind. Thank you so much. The webinar is going to run for 1 hour. And I would really advise that just write your questions, put them in the chat. Every question is going to be attended to. You know, I'll talk a little more about Dikbo. So I've called him at very odd times for help, and there's no question I asked that he doesn't answer. So, and that's one of the main reasons why I felt he's the best person to bring here, because of his patience in trying to teach and his patience in explaining. And I really know what I'm talking about. He knows what I'm talking about, because I've been stuck sometimes when I had to design some processes, and I always had him to run to. So, and also keep mute and keep your videos turned off. That's just for bandwidth reason. You can post your questions in the chat, like I said, and the presenter, which is Dikbo, is going to answer them. This is streaming live on YouTube. Please go to our YouTube page and our social media handles, and you'll watch all the replays and also know when we have new presenters or we have new topics. Career Aid Up is just a group of professionals dedicated to supporting the Black and visible minorities to succeed in their careers, you know, just trying to grow our community. And also, we are just a hub where we network, we learn, and we grow. So we do all things from training, we do coaching and mentoring, we do resume review, we have mock interviews. We had a mock interview yesterday. I think we're going to have another one on Monday, just to help people in the community. These are all free. We also have webinars, which is on our YouTube page. And we bring industry experts like Dikbo today to come and talk about demystify technology trends or very interesting topics. We do business analysis, project management, change management, agile, business intelligence, and also product management. But I think in a nutshell, we just do everything technology, you know, just trying to help. And this all started in the library, you know, and because of COVID, it had to expand into this, and it's going to be fun. So today we are having Dikbo, like I've said several times. Dikbo is a technology enthusiast whose passion is helping businesses solve today's problem using today's technology. Dikbo has over the decades experience designing, building, and delivering process automation solutions to small, medium and large-scale enterprises across the globe. He's the co-founder of Diplo Diamond and Fox Academy in Lagos, Nigeria, and presently leads the banking solutions product team at Process Maker. Dikbo is the author of Business Process Automation. Dikbo, I was just looking back to find my copy, because I have a copy. I bought that book. I had to read that book back to back. A beginner's guide published by Apex, and he lives in Niagara Falls in Ontario with his family, with his lovely wife and 2 children. So Deepo is an expert in his own right. He has a book published. I had to buy that book because I really needed it. And it was so nice that I could also reach out to him. So I'm really, really honored. I'm personally honored to have Deepo here to demystify process automation, artificial intelligence, and intelligent process automation. So I feel I'm talking too much. I'll leave it to the expert to continue. Thank you, Deepo. I think you can share your screen. You can go ahead and, just let us have it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for the awesome introduction. I'm just going to find my screen and share. Do let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, it's visible now.
All right. Am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
I can.
All right. Okay. I think Ari has done most of the introduction. My name is Dick War, and I currently work with Process Maker as a tech lead for banking solutions. Process Maker is a local digital process automation platform. And like Harry said, we met through Process Maker, well, not exactly through, but just helping him walk through some of the challenges he was having using the platform. So I'm just going to quickly just recap that. So I did start an IT consulting firm back in Nigeria then. It's called Diamond. And we also had an FFX Academy where we offer tech training, just trying to help people break into tech. Right now I'm in Niagara Falls. It's wonderful weather. Finally glad to be past the winter season and looking forward to summer. But enough said about me. I'm just going to jump on into why we are here today. So today, I really just want to talk about intelligent process automation, what it is, what are the things that make it up. But I think more importantly, I want this to be something practical. So I'm going to walk through some of the practical use cases of intelligent process automation and just try to walk through examples. In terms of our overall outline of what we're going to talk about today, we'll quickly talk about business processes, so exactly what do we mean, so that we all have the same understanding of what we're referring to when we talk about business processes. And then why do we need to automate those processes? What are the benefits of automation? And how did we get to where we are today? And what's coming next? A couple of examples of what process automation looks like, the success stories, like a few success stories from a couple of projects I've been privileged to work on. And then we talk about the real thing, the main topic for today, which is intelligent process automation. And that's what I'm referring to when I said the process automation sweet spot, just that culmination of the different technologies that we combine together to deliver business value. And then we look at a couple of examples of how it works. And then we talk briefly about hyperautomation, which is the next frontier when in the process automation landscape. All right. So having said that, we begin with business processes. Well, what do we mean when we talk about a business process? We're basically referring to a set of structured activities. So virtually every business has them, and they're usually triggered by an event. And those activities take an input, which could be anything from information about a customer or information about a student, and then the activities are then process that information and then produces an output, which is a tangible thing like a business value. So let's use an example. A very common, so I'm going to give a lot of financial services example because that's about where 80 to 90% of my work lies. Also try and give other industries as the examples come to mind. But I think it's also an example that will resonate with a lot of us. We all have bank accounts, and for a lot of banks, that's the process. So it's an account opening process for the bank. That's one of the processes that the bank has in running their business. And it's usually triggered by an event, which is a customer seeking to open an account. So a customer walks in or goes to a website and says, I want to open an account. So that's the triggering event. And then there are a series of inputs that go into that process. The bank asks for data about the person. So they want your demographic data. They want sometimes they want your identification. They want to know who you are. And then there's a bit of processing. So there's the processing that involves verifying that data. Are you who you say you are? There's some compliance processing, ensuring that you're not on any sanctions list. And then when all of that processing is completed, there's an output, which is an account number that enables you to be a customer of the bank. And that's the business value that we're looking out for. So in just summarizing that, when we talk about a business process, we're talking about a set of activities that an organization uses to derive business value. Now, having said that, we're all clear on what a business process is, and this cuts across every industry. So I hope that's an example that we can all relate with. The next thing we want to then talk about is business process automation. So now that we know that we have these processes, the current trend is that we see businesses trying to optimize their efficiency. And one critical way of doing this is automation. According to Gartner, business process automation is defined as the automation of complex business processes and functions beyond conventional data manipulation and record keeping activities, usually through the use of advanced technologies. So I think there are two key things that I want to just draw out from that definition. So we have the business processes themselves, the usually complex, which is what drives the need for automation. And then the automation is achieved through technology. And this technology there are various forms of technology that we use for this automation. And we will uncover some of that in the next slides. But before that, the next thing we need to consider is what are the key drivers? Why exactly do business want to automate, and what are the benefits that they tend to stand to gain from doing that? I think one of the first benefits from automation is just being able to standardize the process. Think about it. Let's say you have a small business that, let's say a delivery business. Somebody comes into the store, they drop a package, and then you have the process for taking that package and making sure it gets to where it's supposed to go. But then you have a team of, you have 4 locations. So you have different locations where you offer this service. And you've defined your process. You said, this is the process for a delivery. When you receive a package, these are the questions you're supposed to ask. And then when you ask the questions, this is what you're supposed to give the customer. When you're done with that, this is where you're supposed to put the package. When the package is picked up, this is what you're supposed to do. When the package is delivered, this is what you're supposed to do. But then without a clearly defined, even though you might have a clearly defined process, most times, if the process is not automated, it's easy for people to skip steps, and which is one of the very key first benefits that automation brings into a process. It standardizes it. If it's a series of steps in a screen, so let's say you're using a logistic application to automate that process. So rather than the customer coming in to fill a form, a physical piece of paper, which is one of the very simple examples of what of the basic levels of automation. Just having a digital form, a web form that makes certain fields required, creates significant business value, especially in the quality of data that the business gathers. And we know today that data is not just is one of the most valuable resources of any organization. Just the ability to have quality data about your business and derive valuable insights about it. So that's one benefit we see from process automation, that ability to just standardize the process, ensure that the process is followed as specified, and you're not leaving things to the we do not leave the process to run based on maybe the skill of the person, their mood that day, or whatever is going on with them. The next one we see is streamlining. When we do automate processes, we are able to identify where there are bottlenecks. So just by automating a process, you begin to see insights into that process, like where are the problems in this process, and it gives room for you to refine it. You can eliminate unnecessary steps. As you notice that some steps are redundant, you make it more efficient. There's also the piece of compliance. So for example, let's say there's certain information you need to collect as part of a process, or certain things that needs to be done. It also makes audits easier. So for auditors don't have to, it makes access to audit information easier. So let's say, for example, a loan process, you're giving out credits to different customers. You don't have all of this stacked in files in an archive somewhere. In the event of an audit, you can easily just go into the system and retrieve all the information about that process. What were the steps that were taken? What was the decision that was taken? Was it approved by the right person? Did the person have the right authorization? Those kind of things make it easy to just uncover once a process is automated. The next one is actually one of the most important thing, I think, that value that comes from automation, which is the ability to derive business insights. I think I've already mentioned that briefly, but I think one thing I like to think about, especially as we think about process automation, is just going back a few a few years before technology became very commonplace. I guess most of us are old enough. Like everything used to be paper driven. You wanted to do anything, you would fill a physical document, and that was just an enormous amount of data that businesses were capturing. But that data ended up in warehouses, in boxes stored in warehouses, and just having all of that data that could form valuable business insights rotting away in warehouses is something that process automation has completely changed the landscape. Right now, the moment you're filling the form or capturing that data, organizations have the ability to extract that information, transform them, send them out into data warehouses, and then derive business insights from them. You want to quickly pull out reports about how, so which also fits into other domains in the tech industry. So your data analysts can help you uncover meaningful insights, but the starting point, for all of that valuable gold, data gold, is being able to make sure that the initial part of the process has been automated. It's able to capture that data and it's able to send that data to the right place. Of course, for the employees that also work in the organization, we see things like improved efficiency, we're eliminating mundane tasks, and we are also able to increase the productivity of our employees. And that's just scratching the surface of what automation brings to an organization. So there's a couple of examples I just wanted to show out. So there's a couple of projects that I was fortunate to work on. We had a bank where so remember we said that process automation is what we mostly call digital transformation. And that's also maybe a topic for another day, ensuring that your digital transformation is successful. And when a company says they're going to go into digital transformation, they're basically automating all the processes that they run within, but maybe not all, but most of the processes within the business, going from a manual approach to doing things to finding better ways to doing them. And in the case of this bank, they were able to, Process Automation Center of Excellence. That's the team where you have the business analysts and the developers and the QA team working on the digital transformation project. Won the innovation award from the CEO. The bank was able to save over $10 million from the entire project or the initiative, and they were able to automate about over 200 processes. And every time I talk with them, it's something that they're excited about. It's the common phrase they use is next to our core. The process automation platform is our next system. So you have the core where all the customer data lives, and then you have the process automation platform that drives all the business processes across the bank. Similar, we have another client, a following project. They started with just a small set of processes, but just from automating about 6 processes, they're able to save close to $500,000 in annual costs. Of course, that translated into initial great benefits for the bank, improved cost-to-income ratio, especially for any business. It's not just not the amount of revenue that a business is able to bring in, but how much it costs to bring in that revenue. And that's one of the key benefits of process automation. It's able to take that cost level very low. There's a very popular bank in Nigeria. I come from Nigeria. I guess most of us are also Nigerians. That for many years, there's always been a mystery to most people how their cost to income has always been below. They've led the industry in cost to income. And one of the underlying secrets of that was just that right from the inception of the bank started with a process automation platform. Long before most people started doing process automation, it had been a culture from the beginning, and that helped them to keep costs at the very bare minimum, just eliminating some of the expenses that comes with an organization where processes are not automated. So other benefits that the bank saw, the reduced error rate and rework. So people were making less mistakes in processing of requests, and audit ratings went up. Auditors could ask for information and get the right information. I'll give a very interesting story. When I was dating my wife, she used to work with a team in the bank. And one weekend we were going out and we had to go and see, she had told me she had to go to work because our team was asked to produce a document. And so we drove to the bank's archive warehouse, and I saw her supervisor. He was in boxers and singlets, climbing through archives of documents, just trying to find a file. And that's something that has stayed with me through the years. Like the manual and all the effort and pain just to retrieve a single document, because that platform or that process was not automated. And comparing that to a parallel situation where the system is completely automated, the process is automated, all documents related to that transaction have been digitized, they've been captured, they're stored safely. And then if an auditor asks to see those documents, just with a click of a few buttons, you have the right search terms. You can pull up historical data, historical artifacts to support an audit. And those are some of the benefits we've seen from automation in the wild. So having said all of this about what automation is, why is automation fantastic, why you should be automating your business processes, well, let's pause here and just take a step back. How did we get to where we are today? Like I said, it all started, the very earliest form of process automation is just having paper. It's physical forms. Everything was paper driven. You opened an account in the bank, the bank had a ledger. And when they said ledger, they were not referring to a column in a database. It was a physical book with ruled lines, your name, your account number. And then when you come into the bank to do a transaction, somebody would record that piece of transaction, record that transaction on the ledger, the physical one, to say your balance is 100,000, you've come to withdraw 5,000, your new balance is 95,000, and somebody's going to record that into the system. Of course, that had its own challenges. The paper could get burnt, anything could go wrong, and even for the transactions, also all of that was also physical documents. But then with advances in technology, we moved from the physical documents to digital forms, which is basically rather than having to manually write, fill out forms, we now had PDFs and we could capture data into and save them. So we could save the electronic document itself. And then, but that data was still static. You had to copy it from one place to the other or make copies of it or email it to just get things done. And then we moved to the era of workflows, which was basically being able to define how that process was going to work. It's going to start with this form, and then it's going to move into this form, and it's going to move into this form, and it's going to get to this person. Basically defining who are the actors, who are the stakeholders, what are data inputs that go into the process. And we had workflow systems that were the very earliest form of process automation. And then the next iteration after that was business process management systems. So we had the business process BPMN, that's the business process and modeling notation, standardized. So we went workflows where everybody had their own idea of what a workflow should look like. So there were different symbols, there were different systems implementing it the way they thought it should work. But what BPMN tried to achieve was to standardize the industry, like have a common set of a common vocabulary for everybody, a task, a process, a model, a pool, a lane, and just identify what those elements are, standardize those elements. And then we had technologies that were built upon that that vocabulary, that body of knowledge, which are the BPMS. So you have BPM, which is business process management. It's a discipline, and it has different sides to it. And then we have the language of the domain, which is the BPMN. I think the current version is BPMN 2.0. And then systems that are now built on top of that. So most of the systems try to be BPMN compliant, allow you to move your business process models between different platforms. And BPMS has been very successful. It hasn't gone away. So even though my arrow shows that we're cascading, just like we have paper today, so we still paper hasn't gone away, but it's still here. But one of the main benefits of BPMS also moved beyond just not just automating the workflows itself, but also now being able to uncover insights. So we're able to do things like activity monitoring, be able to enforce SLAs, be able to say this, define things like escalation paths within the system, and have all of those automated, not just left to, not just driven by, not just left as a manual activity. And then the next technology that came thereafter in the process automation landscape is RPA. RPA is robotic process automation. And when RPA first came on the block, everyone was like, hey, this is the kid that's going to transform the way everything works. Like, is RPA going to displace BPM? If I have an RPA solution, do I need a BPM solution? But I think in the past few years, we've come to learn that they are not competing technologies, rather they are complementary technologies. They complement each other. And I'm going to give an example of how all of that fits in together. But now that we've seen RPA has grown exponentially. I remember just I think my very first RPA project was in 2019, just trying to learn the technology, figure out what's RPA, what are the use cases, and even going into client sites and trying to explain to them RPA, and everybody's like, oh, we're thinking about it, but it's not something we will be doing anytime soon. And just fast forward a couple of years, I think COVID has also played a very big role in that, just being able to accelerate the digital transformation journey for many organizations. People that had about 5-year plans of, oh, we're going to do this transformation project in 5 years have been forced to start either one way or the other, just with the onset of the COVID pandemic. So RPA has been fantastic. And then I think the question to ponder for all of us is, well, what's going to be the next frontier? I think the next frontier is already with us right here, and that is artificial intelligence. So we're going not just to the automation of the processes through BPMS and RPA platforms, but also beginning to use artificial intelligence to drive a lot of this automation. And when we say artificial intelligence, what exactly are we referring to? I think RPA is a demonstrate what artificial intelligence is like in practice. But even though that technology, it's a subset, so it's been able to, and I think maybe, before I jump on, when I say RPA, just for context, for some of us that might not be too familiar with it, when we say robotic process automation, we're basically just referring to what we call bots that are able to mimic human interactions with the system. So you can record what a person does on the system, and then you have a bot repeat that set of actions, and it has to be something that is structured and repeatable. Those are the kind of processes that are ideal for RPA. And that is possible through artificial intelligence. The bot uses artificial intelligence, for example, to recognize some of the elements, but not all RPAs are driven by artificial intelligence. Some of them are just understanding the sequence of tasks and being able to repeat those tasks. But we're beginning to see advances both on the RPA and on the BPMS side that are driven by artificial intelligence. A good example is something called computer vision. And that has to do with it. For example, one of the main challenges we have with RPA is that most times, because the screen can vary in resolution based on the environment where you're running the software. A lot of organizations with remote workers use a platform, a solution called Citrix. Especially when you're trying to share a technology or an application with people in remote locations with low internet bandwidth. So Citrix enables them to access these applications without the bandwidth overhead. And one of the challenges that most RPA platforms had is when they were trying to mimic users working in Citrix, the bot struggled. It just couldn't recognize elements because what traditional RPA uses was anchor elements on the screen, like trying to figure out where a button is and identify that. But in Citrix, some of those elements shift, and the bot is not able to reproduce the task. But which brings me to the next topic, the next thing that we're talking about, which is artificial intelligence. But due to advances in AI, more specifically computer vision, RPA has evolved. Right now, it's no longer looking for specific elements on the screen using the underlying anchors or anchors in the code, but is looking at the screen the way a human is going to look at it. So it's basically analyzing the screen and making, for lack of a better word, mental anchors of the screen image. So it's actually just processing the screen as an image, like the same way a human does. For example, when you're working on Microsoft Word, you're not checking on that to say what is file or save. You just look at the icon and you recognize it. And that is the same advances we're beginning to see with in RPA through artificial intelligence. Also in the BPMS side, we're beginning to see things like intelligent business process management systems, which also use some form of artificial intelligence to analyze the data that is going through the platform. So the platform is not just receiving the data and having people approve it, but it's also learning what people are doing in terms of how they are approving the request. So let's say, for example, you've automated a loan process. You have this loan process, it's automated, and you have certain criteria that goes to a risk officer to analyze and make a decision. And they approve it or they reject it based on certain criteria. With taking AI or a subset of AI, which is machine learning, what we are beginning to see organizations do is that you are plugging in your machine learning models into that process. One, to learn the criteria. So you're analyzing historical data, which is how machine learning models get trained, to train these models. So you look at the data that's running through your business process management system, and as that data is being analyzed, you run that through your algorithms to come up with a model to predict whether a loan should be approved or declined. And as that is happening, the model gets the model gets more intelligent. And then what we begin to see is that at some point in time, the organization then says based on their risk threshold. So let's say loans less than 2,000, we will let the machine decide. But anything more than that, it should still go to a human. And as the machine gets better and better, you begin to increase those thresholds. So those are some of the things that the advances we've seen in terms of how process automation is evolving. So having said all of this, for everyone, every business, every organization, I think the critical success factor is being able to identify what the sweet spot is. And these are all awesome technologies in and of itself, but which one should you be using? How should you be using them? When should you use them? And that's what I refer to as the process automation sweet spot. You want to find that right combination of business process management, RPA, and AI that gives you the best bang for the buck. You get the highest business outcome. So rather than thinking, oh, we're just going to go BPM, or we're just going to go RPA, or we're just going to do AI, how do we combine all of these to derive the maximum value? And I'll give a couple of examples on what a process automation sweet spot looks like. So I started first with an example of an account opening process. So let's say this is a Superbank, and Superbank has an account opening process. And for the account opening process, it simply requires a user to go onto the platform, fill out their details, submit the application. It goes into the back office. Somebody reviews the application, approves it, and the customer gets their account details. So that's a solution that can easily be driven by by BPM. So a good solution for that problem is a business process management system. And why is the BPM a good solution for that? One, it allows you to build forms and screens, so you can rapidly create business forms for your end users, both the customers and the back office users. And then you can also drive workflows. So you can define the business process. So if it's a simple account, you don't need anybody to approve it. Just go ahead and open the account. If it's a current or checking account, then it needs to go to the back office for some additional due diligence. And then when it's approved, we need to connect to the core banking and generate the account and approve the account. So BPM serves that purpose very well. But let's throw some spanner in the works. So this is Superbank. They've automated their business process. They're very happy with it. And compliance rules change. The central bank now requires that as part of the account opening process, they need everybody to conduct some sort of verification on a platform. However, that platform does not yet have an API, which is not something that is uncommon in most landscapes. The regulators are usually ahead of the technology. So they make a law and then we figure out how to help people comply later. So they've made this law that requires everybody to log into a portal to maybe put in some information or validate some information before they issue accounts, which significantly slows down the business process. A good solution for that is RPA. Some people refer to RPA as the tape, technology tape. It's like duct tape for technology. When you don't have a way to integrate systems, RPA is also a good solution. You can just use RPA to link systems that would not traditionally talk together. So the CTO is very excited. They come up with an idea of, yes, this is a good problem for RPA. And we are seeing two technologies at work here right now. So instead of having their employees have to manually log into that platform to do whatever they need to do, we can readily bring in RPA to automate that piece of the task. So the request comes in, the bot also becomes like an employee in the workflow. So the request goes from the customer to the banker that needs to process it. When the banker is done, it goes into the bot's queue. The bot picks up the request, logs into the portal, does what it's supposed to do, and comes back and moves the request along. So here we're beginning to see how these two technologies can be used to complement each other. And let's say right now, COVID then happens. So before in the process, you had you had people that to verify a person's to verify a customer, you have them probably walk into the bank. They show their details, they fill the form. But now everything is remote. It's completely digital. It's online. They're not coming in. And you have either new customers or existing customers that you want to be sure that it's the right person on the other side. You can ask them a couple of questions, but one of the common things that we've seen happening right now is biometric verification, and that's a key component of where AI comes in. So basically, we're using AI to, one, take a picture of the person and compare that image with an image that we have on file or on their ID, which is a common process we see on most fintech platforms today. To open an account, we combine some form of artificial intelligence, which is computer vision or biometric recognition, allowing you to take a picture of yourself. But we don't just want a picture. What if you take somebody's picture and their ID and you use that for the platform? We want to know whether it's really the person, and that takes it a notch higher, which is something called liveness detection. So the system tells you, can you smile? Can you turn your face to the left? Can you turn your face to the right? And it's actually analyzing all of those motions and detecting it real time and making a decision. And so that combination of technology, for example, is a way whereby is a place where we see these three different technologies all coming together to deliver a better business outcome for the business. We can also look at scenarios like student cost enrollment for university. So we have a university which is something we are all used to at the beginning of a semester, or we go in, we enroll for courses, we submit our course registration form. And that's also an ideal scenario for a BPM platform. You have all of these details coming in, we're submitting that information. But then we also have we could also take this a step further by bringing in some form of artificial intelligence. So let's say you're looking at the student enrollment data, and you link that with a machine learning algorithm that is taking all of that historical data and analyzing the student demographic and some information about the student and correlating that with courses and correlating that with performance. And then you're able to start making predictions. So when a person is about to enroll for a course, you are running their personal characteristics. So the key data points about them against the courses that they are selecting. And then based on that, you're making recommendations. You've selected this course and this course. Historical performance shows that people that take this combination of courses with your with your educational background tend to struggle on this kind of courses or excel in this kind of courses. And the system becomes more and more intelligent and is able to suggest the right combination of courses for the student to enroll. So those are the examples are endless, which is one of the things that I would do as we come to the end of our, just before we round up our talk today, is that I'd like for us to think about scenarios based on our own experiences of where these technologies can be applicable, and we could find ways to talk more about it. But like I said, the next frontier. So one of the things mentioned by Gartner, or one of the term hyperautomation, which we have on the screen right now, is the term that was coined by Gartner, and that was in 2020, and that refers to a business-driven approach to that organizations use to rapidly identify, vet, and automate as many business and IT processes as possible. And when hyperautomation when the term came out, it was the hype word, and everybody was like, hey, of course, all the technology providers try to put themselves under hyperautomation. But I think a lot of clarity has come around in terms of what exactly we mean when we say hyperautomation. I think a good way to think about hyperautomation is automating the automations. So we know that business automation is valuable. There's benefits in having your automation being intelligent, but then can we take that to the next level by actually being able to by having having an automated way to even go about the process of automation itself. So it's like automating, which is why I say automating the automation. So hyper automation or automation squared. And on the left side of the slide, you would see where we've listed out, these are the different technologies that Gartner considers that feed into the hyper-automation landscape, which takes us back to the topic we were talking about today, intelligent process automation. We'll see that most of the technologies we've covered also fall in here. I've tried to keep this very, very high level. If we went deeper, there's so many things there that we could also talk about. But I think I just want to wrap up by just quickly giving a high-level overview of what these technologies are and how that all fits into the process automation domain. So we've talked about artificial intelligence, basically trying to mimic, having systems that are now able to mimic what people do. And what that allows organizations to do is free their employees from mundane tasks. You don't want your employees spending their valuable time. As labor becomes more expensive, you don't want people spending that time doing things that the system can do. So you want to free people up from those mundane tasks and have a system do it. A subset of artificial intelligence is machine learning. So while a lot of AI talks about what people have done and technologies that they've built using AI that you can consume, machine learning also comes from a business point of view. Is also what are you going to do with the data that you are also generating? Are there insights? Are there models or are there prediction models that you can build from the data that you're currently aggregating now, and historical data, especially for businesses that have been around for a long time, that can help automate and simplify the decision-making process. We begin to see things like event-driven software architecture, which simply refers to having different systems that are not directly integrated, but are able to share events. So if something happens in this system, another system is able to listen for that event and respond accordingly. So which is very helpful. So let's say you have an account opening solution in your bank, or once an account is opened, you have a loyalty program, or you have some other system that does something else. The account opening solution is able to just fire out of an event, and that other system takes the necessary data it needs and kicks off its own process. A good example of that in one of the clients we work with today is for commercial accounts. When you open a commercial account and that account is opened, most banks want to offer the customer treasury services. So an event is fired out saying the bank has opened a new commercial account, and the treasury services system gets a notification and picks the necessary data from the account application and starts a treasury onboarding process. We've talked about RPA, we've talked about BPM and the intelligent BPMS. Another topic here is integration platform as a service, which is iPaaS. And right now, that's probably a wonderful topic to discuss some other time, is just understanding the business value that comes from being able to have systems talk to each other. And BPM often serves as an orchestrator in that regards, while the iPaaS serves as a way to aggregate. So with your iPaaS, you're able to aggregate APIs across a whole wide variety of data sources, internal applications, vendor applications, partner applications, expose all of that through APIs, but have a unified place to manage, administer, and secure all the APIs across your organization. And so we begin to see increasing trends in iPaaS. And of course, there's the low-code, no-code tools, which is also an evolving trend where we are seeing a lot of citizen developers. I think Gartner currently predicts that by the next 2 years, most organizations are going to have 4 times the number of citizen developers as much as full software developers. So you have a lot of software developers being able to build applications using low-code application platforms. You can quickly create a screen, connect it to a couple of services, and create business value without being a software developer. And that's an emerging trend that I think is going to continue. Of course, we have the regular package software, and then we have decision systems, things like business rules engine that helps also drive this process. And hyper automation basically refers to combining all of these technologies in the right way, just like we talked about the sweet spot, and finding how to derive the highest business value in the shortest amount of time for your organization. And that brings us to the end of our talk. But the question I want to leave each and every one of us with is that even though as fantastic and wonderful as this technology sound, a common question is usually, so where do I start? And I think the answer to that is it depends. It depends on the current business problem that you're trying to solve. It depends on the budget that you have. It depends on the skill level of the team. But I think the most important answer to this question is start. So, and I think that brings us to Q&A. I can see a couple of hands raised, but I think I'm just going to let Ari help coordinate the Q&A session. I think there's a question from Marvi.
Yes, there are several questions, and thank you for that, Dikbo. I think you still have some time to answer some of those questions. I know some people have raised their hands. I would prefer you send a message, but let's see if we can take some of those. So
Okay.
let's go with I think Mavi. Is that Mavi? Mavi, can you please stop drawing on the screen, please? Let's see. Mavi, can you stop drawing on the screen, please? Okay. Well, maybe you should stop share. Okay, it's clean. Okay, yeah, thank you. You're cleaning that off. So Mavi, can you? Okay, let's see if you. Okay, Mavi, unmute yourself now. Can you unmute yourself? Okay.
So since I can't hear you.
You can, then that is happening on your screen. Dipo, can you help clean off what you wrote there? If you can't hear me, then that is on your screen. I don't know what is happening, but I think others can hear, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't hear because your audio is not enabled. So I think you should try and enable your audio to sort that out. Bolaji, can we go with your questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Deep, for that. It was very insightful. I have two questions. The first one is, what is the best approach of introducing this concept into an organization, especially the RPA? And the second one, I think I would be a little bit selfish here. I work within the payment domain. And within your experience, what do you consider to be like a repetitive process in the payment industry? And how do you think that can be automated?
Oh, very good question. So I think the first one is, what's the easiest way to introduce RPA into an organization? And I think don't let me say it depends, but it depends. But I think one of the most effective strategies I've seen is usually with a small team or a team with a problem, trying to solve a specific problem, starting with a proof of concepts. You want to be, usually most times the decision makers are usually far away from the problem. You need to channel your pain through a lot of layers for it to get to executive decisions. And most times it takes a long time for those approvals to happen. And I'll give a good example. We had a client where the CTO was new to the organization, and he had a business department that had a pain point for manual processing, and they wanted to introduce RPA to solve the problem. So rather than go all the way to the executive level to get a digital transformation project approved, they simply went to that specific department. They had some budget in their departmental budget to do that covered the scope of the project, and they built an RPA bot to help automate their process. So what happened was that the bank, they are traders. So most banks have trading treasury departments where they do trade in FX or bonds and all of that. And these are very busy and expensive employees. Like when they finish trading, but at the end of the day, because the system where they trade is different from the system that contains the bank transactions, after a heavy day of trading, they then sit down and manually repost all their transactions into the banking system. And so what we did was we came up with a small, like a proof of concept to show how a bot could save that. So rather than having to post the transactions, when the employees are done, they just download the Excel sheet and hand it over to the bot. The bot takes the Excel sheet and logs into the core banking and posts the transactions on their behalf. So having seen that success, the bank today is running a bank-wide RPA automation. But it took that success in that small department first to show management. So when they went to present the idea to management that we wanted to do RPA, it wasn't just theoretical. They had a success metric they could take. That right now, traders, when they close at 2, when they finish trading at 2, they're able to close with the rest of the organizations at 4 because they don't have to sit back and post transactions. They finish trading, they download their trading, they call it a blotter. They download their blotter in Excel and they drop it off in a location. The bot picks it up, the bot posts the transaction, and it sends an email when it's done posting. So just being able to free their time up so they can spend that remaining time rather than posting transaction, they can spend it doing research, preparing for the next day's trade. So that's to answer I hope that answers your first question. So I think a good way is usually find a small problem, build a proof of concept, and show the business value. It's a formula I've seen work over and over again. It's the same way I also got into business process automation. We had a big platform that we were using in the bank I used to work, but it was very slow. It wasn't working, but we commissioned a small POC to build a small process on a different technology. And we were able to show that it worked, it was better, and then you're able to get management buy-in. So it's usually one of the most effective strategies. And I think a lot of platforms also understand this as a strategy, and that's why you have all those things like free tiers with limited capacity, but it allows a small team to rapidly build a proof of concept internally and show business value. The second question is around the payments space. That's a very good space for RPA. And I think one of the main things that RPA solves well in payments is reconciliation. A lot of payment transaction usually has to do with multiple platforms. So you have maybe different issuers or different providers, different merchants. And at the end of the day, you have a team that has to download Excel from all of these different sources, reconcile those transactions, make sure there are no disputes, and then post the disputes right in the right to the right portal or the right third party. So let's say, for example, a common one is ATMs. We all use ATMs. You go to the ATM, you do a transaction, it doesn't dispense cash, there's a failure. The system takes all of that data and it goes in. The bank downloads all of those reports the next day, and they need to decide whether we are owing somebody money or not. So do we need to refund some money as part of the settlement process? So I think settlement is a very good use case for RPA in payments.
Okay, Dipo, thank you so much for that. Bolaji, I can see your thumbs up, which is, I think Bolaji is well satisfied with those answers. If you have questions, please post. A couple of questions I have here. Do you need programming skills to start a career and be proficient in intelligent process automation, be it BPMN, that is the business process management, or AI, or robotic process automation? Do you need programming skills?
I think the short answer to that is no. And the reason why I say no is because a lot of the technology providers realized that the future of this is not with the software developers themselves, but with empowering what we call citizen developers. So that's a common trend right now with a lot of automation platforms. Everyone's focused on the citizen developer. And what do we mean when we say citizen developer? It's someone who is tech savvy. You understand technology, which a lot of us are. You understand the key components of technology. You understand the business domain, which is a critical thing. Because usually most times the developers their domain is the technology, is the code. They don't really understand your business problem. So most times you have a lot of back and forth, which I think is where the role of the business analyst comes in, trying to take that business problem, translate it to the tech people, take the tech, translate it back to the business people. But what we're seeing is that if you're able to empower the business people, you can make automation, you can make the transformation faster in an organization. And so with the rise of citizen developers, we are seeing things like low-code platforms, which means you just require basic skills like if you're able to write formulas in Excel, then you have the necessary skills to build process automation. So we have platforms that allow you to build a form without any code. You basically drag the components that you need into the screen. And then once you're done with that, you can use connectors to connect them to services to maybe pull in data or save data. And then you can publish this little pieces of automation. A strategy we see with a lot of organizations is what they call like a center of excellence. So they allow citizen developers to build their automations, but they send it to a center of excellence that basically reviews it for things like security, best practices, and just standardize those things before they are deployed. And it's a strategy I've seen work also. I gave an example of a bank that automated 200 processes, and we did all of that in less than 2 years. That's a whole lot of amount of processes to automate in 2 years. But the only reason that was possible was because the bank invested in training citizen developers. And that happened by having the people that own the problem build the first version of the automation. So they're not explaining it to a developer. They know what data they need to capture. They know who needs to approve it. They know all the elements that make that process. So they can model the workflow. They can build the screens. They can drag and drop and all of that. But then we have something that is called like a cliff, which is usually something the cliff problem in process automation, which means when we build these automations at a certain point in time, we want to do something more advanced. So the very first iteration is simple, it solves a problem, but then you want to do something more advanced. And then that's when you bring in your developers. But the benefit of having the citizen developers start is that you're able to do a whole lot more in a short period of time. And the developers only come in when they need to do the heavy lifting. So you need to do some complex development, but a whole lot of value can just be created by citizen developers building small apps that solve their business problems.
Awesome. I've heard a lot about citizen developers. I was one when I engaged you. So I think our Process Maker, which is one of the platforms that Deepo is very proficient in, is low code. It's just that sometimes you need to do something extra, and you might just need someone that knows some HTML or JavaScript to help out. But I've been there, so I know what you're talking about. But I think technology companies are just trying to empower more tech savvy, but not programmers, just everyday employers to be able to work on these tools and to be able to build their process without necessarily learning how to do JavaScript or learning Java and all that. So for the business analysts in the house, for the project managers in the house, for the product managers in the house, we are bringing this topic to you because we just want you to know that it's not something out of your reach. You know, technology has made this easy. You are very relevant and very needed in this space and in this area. And this area is also a very growing area, you know, so there's lots of potentials for tech guys, be it business analysts, product managers, product owners, project managers. Okay, Deepo, thank you. I'm trying to make sure that we stick to our time. Yeah. Just look to the chat. There's no more questions, but I know Deepo, can I get the recording? Yes, the recording is on our YouTube page. So you just go to our YouTube page. I did paste that earlier. So you go to the YouTube page. I shared our social media platforms. If you click on that link, you will see our YouTube page. Just like and share, you can watch the videos. Deepo, would you prefer that I share the poll that you want us to get engaged in now? So Deepo wants us, he has talked about robotic process automation, business process management, and AI and artificial intelligence. But we are hoping to get Deepo back so that he can do a deep dive. If you notice today, he wanted to make sure that he covers as much as he can, but we are hoping that we can do a deep dive. But we just don't want to select on our own. So we'd like you to be the one to select what topic you think that we should delve into. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm also going to share a link. I just want you to click on this link and use this code, and we can do this poll together. So if you go to the chat, you will see, go to menti.com and use that code 298905. So I'm going to share my screen so we see in real time what the polling is like. So go to menti.com. I've shared the link. I put in that code and tell us which of these technologies you are familiar with. Now, we've talked about business process automation, robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence. Which of these are you familiar with? Can anybody get to the poll? Or I hope there are no challenges in getting to the poll. Oh yes, so I can see, okay, yeah.
Where's the link to the Menti? I can't see it on the chart.
Yeah, I just see. So just go to, it's on the chart. Just go to Menti. Okay, let me put it. Menti.
I think it's also showing on the screen.
Can you?
Yeah, it's also on the screen. So go to menti.com.
www.menti.com.
Yeah. Go to menti.com and type in that code. Then you just click. So you can click on as many. So it's not restricted to one. So which of these technologies are you familiar with? Business process management, robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence. Okay, so I'll give it, oh yeah, I think business, well, this is expected. Most people would have heard about business process automation because every organization has sets of processes that they are looking for a way to automate. Adex said, I want to learn more about integration automation. Well, unfortunately, we don't have that on the screen, but
I think it's something worth exploring. So maybe we'll also plan for that. I think integration platforms is also an interesting topic to explore. My day-to-day involves a lot of integrating different systems, and I think it's something that a lot of business tend to gain, would have a lot of business value unleashed just by being able to expose some of these capabilities as APIs and integrations. It's exponential when two systems are able to talk to each other, like,
exactly,
and just uncover business value.
So, Dipo, are you referring to? Does that mean that will involve managing APIs?
Yes. So I think for this particular audience, the goal is to look at it from a citizen point of view.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah,
we're not going to come up at it from the building an API and all of that. But how does an iPaaS platform also empower citizen developers? So maybe I think that's the topic worth exploring in some future date. But basically, just bringing iPaaS, where the iPaaS platform benefits citizen developers.
Beautiful. Yeah. I hope that by saying all this, it means that you are willing to come back.
Yeah, I think I'm always happy to share the little I know. I think we all learn by, one of the best ways to learn is to try to share. It also helps you reinforce the things you know.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Dipo. So we have 62% for which of these technologies you're familiar with. I am just going to throw up another poll. We have just 2 polls, but we're going to make it quick, just so that we can. It's still the same link. So I'm going to share my screen again. If you go there, let me share my screen. So which of these technologies would you like to learn more about? So we've asked what you know. Wow. Okay. AI. Okay. Which one would you like to learn more about? We need more. Let's have all installments. Yes, we're going to have it. Okay. I get your point. So you want us to talk about everything, but one at a time. So, but let's see. It looks like AI is taking the poll. So let's just do this. Which of these technologies would you really like to know more about? Dipo is well-rounded, so he can take us through everything, but maybe what we'll do is to take it one at a time. Maybe at a particular time, we'll take whichever comes first, AI, then we'll do maybe business process, and finally we'll do robotic process automation. Okay, great. So I think we agree that AI would be a technology that everybody would like to know more about. And we'll take the final poll now. so that we'll call it a day because we've exceeded our times, and I'm very careful about not wasting our time. So we'll take the final poll is going to come up now, and this is a free form, so you can type whatever business problem you want us to tackle. So I'm going to share that now. You can, what are there any, which business problem would you like us to use this technology to tackle? Which business problem? Is it a finance business problem? Is it people? I don't know if you can give me some.
So I think the idea is, like, can we come up with a couple of hypothetical scenarios in terms of business problems, and then what this would allow us to do is see what's the which one is the most common trend, and come up with. So we take all of that feedback and build a sample business problem. That's so that our what's it called? Our sessions are not just theoretical, but also it's things you can learn about and take valuable lessons and go and apply. So if we can,
so
if
I
we
think
can describe some problems.
Just some problems. I think what Deepa wants is we don't want theory anymore. We want to practicalize it. So it could be healthcare problem, it could be some data problem, it could be something that has to do with like I said, finance or HR, so what business problem do you think will be you want us to talk about now? I'm not seeing repeated business problems, so right now I can't even say which one is coming out tops which one is not coming out tops. So that's kind of difficult, but it's all good. We can find a way around that. Okay, so I'll give it maybe like 10 more seconds for us to be done with this. If you have any other business problem, okay, I think I see integration seems to be getting bigger, so I think multiple people are putting in integration and integration reporting. What?
I think it's reporting and integration seem to be.
Reporting and integration seems to be coming out tops. I see health case management, but it's still looking small. So I think we kind of have an idea of what we should do. So we have payment solutions and integration now. Taking it over. So payment solution and reporting is getting bigger. Reporting and integration. Okay. I think we kind of have an idea of what we should do. But I'll connect with you, so we figure out exactly what it should be. But it looks like it's between integration and
I think we also have integrations twice. So
I think because if that integration was part of the integrations, it will still make it bigger. Okay. So thank you everybody for at least participating in this. Hopefully when we come back, we see what you want us to talk about and we hear you. So hopefully when we come back, we're going to be working on something that has to do with integration, or I think really integration and maybe reporting. Let's see how we do it. And then we can learn and, become better at what we do, or maybe this will pique your interest and it might just be something you want to learn more about. And Dikbo, I really wanted to ask a question about security and how it relates to robotic process automation, but I'm not going to go there because we exceeded our time. But it's a question I think I would like you to really answer, because I have a lot of BAs that I mentor, and I see a lot of interview questions around security and automation. So, and just goes to show that as a BA, if you are working in the financial sector, even in the health sector, security is becoming something very important. But I'll ask you that question some other time. Dikbo, do you have anything to say before I thank everybody that joined us today?
I think it's been very insightful, and just understanding and getting the privilege to share with everyone.
Thank you, they are back.
And I look forward to continuing our conversation in the not too distant future.